Okay, so looking at order of operations, there's a few things that we need to remember. First, when we're thinking about this, the way that we remember how to do order of operations is thinking of BEDMAS. So BEDMAS, and I'm writing it out pretty wide here, but we're going to write some other stuff. BEDMAS, we have brackets. So that means that we want to do anything inside the brackets first. And we actually have to use BEDMAS inside the brackets before we can finish that bracket. Then we're going to do exponents. So if there's any exponents, we want to do them before we do any division or multiplication. Now division and multiplication, we're just going to work on those left to right. Multiplication. Whoa, it's too long. There it is. And then addition and subtraction. And the same thing with those. You can work on those left to right if you're doing addition and subtraction. These two go together and these two go together. Okay? So let's look at a couple examples. So first, it says simplify the following. Now simplify just means do BEDMAS as much as you can. There's no equal sign, so we can't actually solve for anything. So we're going to put an equal sign below. We'll go back to black here. We're going to have equals, and then I'm going to do the brackets first because I'm doing BEDMAS. So I'm going to leave everything else. 3 plus 8 minus 2 is 6 times 4 minus 7. Now I need to do my multiplication because there's no exponents, there's no division, but there is multiplication. So again, I'm going to leave 3 plus, now 6 times 4 is 24 minus 7. Now this last step, I can just do it left to right. I can do it all in one step because it's just adding and subtracting. So 3 plus 24 is 27, and 27 minus 7 is 20. And that's exactly how you should answer the question. So I'm not sure how you answered them in grade 8, but when we're working in high school, we always want to be working down the page. Okay, so for example, let's look at this next one. So we've got equals. Now, there are brackets, but this first part of the question doesn't actually influence the brackets at all. It's not attached to the bracket. So we can actually do -5 times 4. Now we have to remember when we're multiplying, or dividing, there's a couple of rules we need to remember. So we need to remember that 2 positives, a positive times a positive, equals a positive. Now, if 2 things are in brackets side by side, that means they're multiplying. A positive times a negative is equal to a negative times a positive equals a negative, and then a negative times a negative equals a positive. Okay, now the same rules all apply for dividing as well. So here we have a negative times a positive, so we know the sign is going to be negative, and then we can just do 5 times 4 is 20. Minus 5 plus 7, and then that fraction sign is the same as divided by. So we have to do that first. So we're going to have minus 20 minus 5 plus 7 divided by 7 is actually just 1. Now minus 20 minus 5 more would be minus 25. And then if we add 1 more back to it, we get minus 24. Okay? So let's try another one. Or let's actually look at this. This is a little bit different. So what's the difference between these 3 things? Well, the first one just says 3 squared. Now 3 squared we know is 9. This is going to have something to do with 9. And this is going to have 2 negatives make a positive, so that's 9. The only one that I actually butchered writing is the middle one is actually equal to -9. Okay, because what the first one says, if we were to expand it out, is 3 times 3. What the second one says is negative and then 3 times 3. And what the third one says is -3 times negative 3. If you look at it in a question, if we had 1, or let's do 10, plus 3 squared, well, that would be equal to 10 plus 9, which is 19. If you look at the next one, if we have 10 minus 3 squared, well, that's equal to 10 minus 9, which is equal to 1. And then finally, if we had 10, and we'll call it plus this time, I guess, plus negative 3 squared, well, we've got to do the exponent first, so we've got 10 plus negative 3 times negative 3, which is 9, and then that's 19. Okay, I hope that's okay and a little bit clear. You will probably struggle with that a little bit, but once you start getting back into things, you'll see what I mean. So the last two questions here. So we're going to work through them. The second one's a little bit harder. I'm going to go beside actually and then work down. Just I think I might run out of space. So we've got 6 brackets, so 3 plus 2 squared. We can do 2 squared as 4 in our head. And then 3 plus 2 squared is actually 3 plus 4. So we've got 3 plus 4 is 7. And now I can actually work through a couple of these. Anything that's broken up by a plus or a division, or a plus or subtraction, I can work through it. So we've got 6 plus 7. And now I've got 12 divided by 3. Well, that's 4. And then I can do minus 9. And now I can actually just put all that together. 6 minus 7 is negative 1, plus 4 is positive 3, minus 9 is negative 6. You will be able to use your calculator while you're working through these, but you should be able to do that in your head. Okay, the last one. Now typically you would go down the page here, but I'm just running out of space, so I'm going to go across. Now what we're going to think of, whenever you see a fraction like this, we can always do the top first as though it's in brackets, and then the bottom as though it's in brackets. And then we can divide right at the very end, if we're able to divide. Okay, so what we're going to look at here is we've got on top, we've got 9, because remember, negative 3 times negative 3 is 9, plus, and then I've got to leave that 2, because I've got to do some stuff inside the brackets first. So we have 2 minus 3 divided by 6 is 0.5, or sorry, not 2. 4 minus that. We'll put it as a decimal right now, but I want you to get used to working in fractions. Okay, now on the bottom, we've got 2 squared is 4, minus 8, plus 3 times 2, which is 6. So working down the page still, we've got 9 plus 2 bracket 3.5, all divided by 4 minus 8 is going to give us negative 4, plus 6 is going to give us positive 2. So then we'll keep going. 9 plus. Now 2 times 3.5, because it's that looks like that's just another way of multiplying if I have a number right beside a bracket, excuse me. So this is 3.5 times 2, which is 7, all divided by 2. Again, I would keep going down the page, but I've run out of space, so I'm going to go up here. So 9 plus 7 gives me 16 over 2. And 16 divided by 2, well, that gives me 8. Okay, I hope this kind of helps you or refreshes what you remember from BEDMAS from last year.